How do you find the will to fight back against a world that wants to keep you sedated, average, and stuck in place? Join us for the tools and strategies you need to create a life of abundance, discipline, and high achievement. This is the Tactical Empire with Jeff Smith.
Welcome to another edition of the Tactical Empire. I am here today with one of my favorite guests, my wife, Kirsten Smith. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Fantastic, fantastic. I brought you on because you haven't been on in a year and a half. And we've been doing a lot of stuff. How's your year been?
Different, but good.
How has it been different?
Are we just jumping right in here?
Yeah. What do you think you need to do? Do you need to intro yourself?
I didn't know if we were going to have a lot of pleasantries but we'll just get right into it. So last year we did annual planning. So I know you've run through how we do annual planning.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah, we're about to do it again.
Do it again. Every year between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we usually get out of here, go revisit goals, figure out, what we're doing for the coming year. And last year when we went, on paper, I had crushed all my goals. I was going to be on 25 podcasts a quarter, and I was going to write a book and hit #1 bestseller. And I marked everything off my list that I had to do. But the weird thing is that I still felt like I was sucking at everything. I had gotten so dialed in with my schedule and my daily habits that the kids knew if I made them breakfast, that if they didn't like what I made, mom's going to be in the office on a Zoom call in 20 minutes and then we can just raid the pantry. So I just felt like I was really kind of dividing myself in a bunch of ways that wasn't really serving. I wasn't showing up as the best version of me in any of those aspects.
Yeah. You were stretched a little thin last year trying to do everything.
Yeah. And then I noticed you pulled back because you were trying to support me, which I don't think served you well and your ability to produce. So I think we just kind of had that, the combination of me doing my internal processing prior to our annual planning, where you love to do your external processing, going on long walks, talking about our stuff. I had kind of the come to Jesus moment that the biggest ROI for me, my attention, my time, all of that is our kids. Because, they're little, they're not going to stay little. They need me more now, especially if we're going to be successful homeschooling. They needed more of my time and my energy. So the thing that really changed for me was that, you agreed and you said, I don't need your money. I will out earn you. And literally in 6 weeks you did. So I didn't take on a single client the entire calendar year. I don't know, this is probably the third podcast I've done this year. I've completely transitioned. It's very strange now that we're winding down for the year. I have my very last group coaching call with my clients, some of whom have been with me for, 2 years straight. And, I had one send me a message the other day. She's like, it's the end of an era. And it does kind of feel like the end of an era. But I think it's been good and it was necessary. And yeah, so it's been different, but it's been good.
So we made that decision in December of last year. I think we did December annual planning last year. We went to that tree house. Yeah. And for me, that was huge because I think I was just waiting on you to say that. So it was very nice as far as you having that your own realization, because I didn't want to push you into it. I didn't want to push you to say, hey, you don't really need to be doing all this stuff. Because at the time you were really self-motivated and driven into I want to achieve. I'm going to grow this business. I'm going to grow this group. I'm going to help these ladies in all these different ways and write my book and do all that. And you did it. spoke on stages, did that, and it was a great year for you. But I mean, ultimately, it was very satisfying for us to kind of have those conversations and understand um, that our kids are young, and we've got whatever. I mean, I I say all the time we've got 15 more years with them in the house tops, and our oldest is 11, so we've got 10 years tops with her, maybe less, in the house. And so like these and that will fly by. She's already half done with living with us, and so like when you put that into perspective, it really changes your priorities. And I know a lot of the guys I run with and things like that are real hard chargers and stuff like that. But I truly think that you can do both to an extent. And for me, I think it's seasons of life, and we're just in a season right now where we can still create, but we have to prioritize what's important, and then we have to have boundaries and say no to everything that doesn't really support that. And I've changed my travel schedule a little bit this year. I've been way more intentional about how I'm spending my time away from the family, as far as like, is there an ROI on this particular thing? I think so often we get caught up in like networking and attending things and going to things, as far as like doing and doing and doing, but like, is there an actual intentional ROI? And I've been more deliberate this year about being intentional. Like, I'm going to go here, and this is why, and this is the ROI that we're going to get out of it.
Right.
And so, from my perspective, I think it's been a tremendous year. It's been an interesting year from a foundational standpoint, though, because like I mean, we've made tremendous progress. So when we do go to annual planning in 2 weeks, um, I guarantee our retrospective, which is what we start our annual planning with each year, like looking back over the past 12 months, what happened, what changed, taking stock of everything. I'm sure that it's going to be pretty eye opening on the progress that we've made, but it really does feel like a transitional year, as
Oh yeah.
far as like very foundational. Because to the next point, like, you started unwinding all this stuff and changing your schedule and your focus into the children, kind of right when we came back from annual planning, so December. But then by January, I had said that I would replace the money from the business by the end of January, which I did, by the end of January. And so that kind of kicked us off into like a whole new realm of like, okay, you believed that you could spend the time and not feel stressed about finances and stuff like that. And then what happened from there was that we kind of made some other decisions. We went to a wealth conference together in May. So we were in Miami, and we were whatever 5 months into this new life of ours, if you will, where she's really focused on homeschooling, focused on the kids. We actually let them do activities for the first time this year, which was interesting. And it's funny when I say it, it sounds like we're like asshole parents. So we let them do activities, but we both kind of agreed that we didn't want to be running to 24 ball practices. I mean, we got a lot of kids. We got 4 kids, guys, 4 years old to 11 years old. And with them involved in activities, it has been a change for us, because we are at practices every night. We are doing different things than we ever really have. And so they've been in gymnastics, they've been in piano, they've been in aerial, they've been in football, they've been in uh,
I
different.
think that's it.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's been
been,
a lot. It's been an adjustment.
yeah, for sure. But in May, when we were in Miami, we kind of looked at each other and said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And we and you can tell the story. What would we decide?
Well, years and years ago, probably right after we moved to Texas. So, gosh, that was 2008. This is before we ever had kids. We, newly married, probably not even married at that point. Um, we had this crazy idea that what if we lived in a fifth wheel and we could just travel around the country and just go RV park to RV park? Like, how many cool people would you meet? What kind of cool sights would you see? I always thought it'd be cool because RV parks are filled with like crusty old veteran guys that are drinking beer and like they have amazing stories. And I was just like, oh, I feel like that would be my people. Plus, like, I'm from Kentucky, and you could take the girl out of Kentucky, but you can't take the Kentucky out of the girl. So a part of that was always very appealing to me. Then, one thing leads to another. We get married, we start a business, we buy a house, we have a kid, have another kid, then the kids are in school. And part of me never forgot that crazy idea that we came up with. And I was like, man, I wish we would have done that when we had the opportunity, because now we can't do that. Like, we have too many obligations. We're tied down here too tightly. So we got to thinking, and we were like, our kids aren't homeschooled, or our kids aren't in school now that we're homeschooling. We sold a business last spring. So realistically, like, we don't ever have to leave our house for anything. Why couldn't we do that now? Because we have too many kids? Like, could we all fit? What would that look like? So in the spring, we just kind of started tossing this idea around and following some families that actually travel full time, and saw that people are doing it and started to kind of wrap our head around it. So when we went to Miami, I think that we'd kind of been struggling with, if we were to get a second house, like, where is our sort of sweet spot? Is it the mountains? Is it the beach? And I don't think we've ever really landed on something, because I think we kind of wanted it all. And we just kept coming back to this idea of, what if we got really intentional and we really simplified life in order to maximize life? So today was supposed to be day one of foundation repairs, getting our house ready to put on the market so that we can upgrade our RV.
And not to mention, I've got a lot of properties. We've got 70 some rental properties from here to Corpus Christi. We've got a self-storage deal that I'm on the hook for rehabbing with a bunch of people's money, that they trust me to knock it out of the park. And so unpacking your busy life
And
is,
we have my parents now,
yes.
which is a big thing, because I'm an only child. So my parents moved from the Chicago area down to the suburbs of Houston in 2020. And now I can't imagine them not being, 20, 30 minutes away. My mom watches the kids for us on Thursday when we go to date day, usually. So that's a really, really big thing to take into account as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So trying to unpack and unwind your life is tough. Because you have a lot of obligations as an adult, obviously, as you all know. But we have taken this thing on with a good attitude, I guess, and we're just taking as it comes. We've got some things we have to wrap up still. Like she said, we're doing foundation repair to our house. We've got obviously some repairs to do after we fix the foundation, because that comes with some cracking and some stuff like that. So we've got to paint, we've got to sheetrock repair, do all that, and then we're gonna unload this property, buy a brand new dually, buy a brand new RV, trade our other one in, I guess, or sell it, and upgrade that again and be on the road. It's been an exciting journey, because we didn't know how the kids would take it at first, and they are completely bought in at this point. They are very excited.
when I thought about it, I was like, how much time could you save if, I mean, our house is 4 bedrooms plus a designated office. You know, you got a whole house full of toilets to clean all the time. And there's just so much work that goes into it. And like with 6 of us, how many bathrooms do we use realistically? Like we all use the one. Like we seriously, and it's like a puppy pile all the time in the living room. Like it's Jeff and I, and then 4 kids on top of us. And then if you look across the room, you know, there's another sofa that no one's sitting on. There's half of a sectional that no one's on because everyone's just always in a pile and always super close. So we have all this dead space, and the dead space just collects stuff, and it collects clutter, or it collects toys that the kids don't necessarily play with, but for some reason they just move them around the house, and then I have to fight with them to get them to pick up. But like, what if you could clean your whole house in 15 minutes? What if you didn't have all of like that shit laying around that just gets moved and causes all of that stress? So one thing that I think has been an absolute game changer is we just started purging the house. We've been purging the house since midsummer.
Yeah.
Which has been just unbelievable. I love to purge. Jeff's probably a little bit more of a hoarder than I am. He says he's not, but he is. I find it hugely satisfying to be able to just fill a garbage bag with stuff and take it to Goodwill or just throw stuff away. So I've been loving it. I had to do a whole bunch while the kids were up in Illinois staying at their grandmother's because, you know, with kids, it's like, here's a broken toy. I haven't seen that thing in 7 years, but like as soon as they see it, they want it. So that was a great opportunity to get a ton of stuff out of the house. And it's made everybody's life, like, tell me if you agree, everybody's life is so much happier, slower, more simple, more at ease because like it's not cluttered. The kids' lives aren't cluttered with a whole bunch of extra toys. Like they have the stuff that they really like, and you know we still have to scale it back some. But I feel like life is a lot simpler, and I'm taking this kind of filter of intentionality from how I want to live life, and I'm applying that to like daily life, and I'm applying it to stuff, and I'm using it. You know, now that it's going to be Christmas soon. And like, what do we really need? What makes us really happy? How do we want to spend our time? How do we want to spend our money? And just having that layer of intentionality that I'm running everything through is an absolute game changer.
Yeah, I think you've already seen a difference in everybody's like mood and behavior. Like everybody's kind of chilled out a little bit, just because we've gotten rid of a lot of stuff already. And I think that'll only improve. But I mean, this all kind of stems from the fact that I've been big on experiences over things for our family for forever. Like the gifts I buy for the kids have to be like educational or fitness related, or like they have to grow their mind or their muscles. And otherwise like we're doing something experiential, and this really fits right into it. But we're taking it to the next level of like fully immersive lifestyle of experiences. And so, I mean, we plan on the kids are going to get to do everything that they want to do. Like they want to swim with the manatees. They want to do all kinds of stuff. I obviously want to hike everywhere. And so they're going to get to do all that too, whether they want to or not. And they're good sports. They enjoy the outdoors. But I just think it's truly, I don't see any downside at this point. So people are going to ask questions about like how you're going to educate the kids. Tell me some stuff about that, because you've done a ton of research. Obviously you've fucking level 10 fact finder this whole thing. And so like, tell us about like the online stuff and how the kids get creative classes like computer programming and things like that.
Yep. So the majority of what I do homeschooling already is like, I'm kind of a control freak about that. And I like building my own curriculum. So I already have like the core of their curriculum set. But especially with the older kids, now that they've got, you know, the reading comprehension, the tech skills that they can navigate a computer or an iPad, there's lots of resources out there. One of them is called OutSchool. And so they've been shopping for some sort of extracurricular courses. Like our oldest is starting to get into coding. They like the Minecraft, Roblox stuff and want to get into designing some video games, and just giving them an opportunity to explore some of that. You can do like a full semester. You can do one-on-one virtual coaching, I guess, virtual classes, pay by the class, pay by the semester, all sorts of options there. I think there's 100,000 plus classes that are available on OutSchool. I really think what I've witnessed so far is, we'll use my oldest as an example. So she's 11 and she gets very anxious about violence and news, any of that stuff. She doesn't like to hear the news.
Good for her. You said my oldest, like it's your kid and not mine.
Ours. How's
Yeah.
that?
There. Thank you for the clarification.
Oh, all right. So as we were doing history, the way that I've kind of taught them history is from a classical point of view. So we've done like the ancient world and then the medieval world and then sort of early modern and modern in these 4-year cycles. And there have been a lot of times as we've gone through sort of ancient world and medieval world that she's hated it. She hated history so much because she was like, it's full of wars.
It's violent.
Like it's so violent and it's scary. And why do I need to learn this? And I love history. So it wasn't something that I was willing to compromise on. I'm like, well, we're going to at least, get a very broad framework. We don't need a lot of details of kind of, the progression of human history. What's been really interesting to me is watching them learn about, maybe colonial America from a book, or for example, the 6 wives of Henry VIII, right? If you guys remember from school, they were divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. So it's, not really a pretty story that he used to behead his wives. But when there is sort of a practical application, they really, really, really kind of sink their teeth into the history. So both of the older girls got really into all the songs from the Hamilton musical. And, I think our 9-year-old knows probably every word to the entire soundtrack, with the exception of one song. But that got them so interested. They wanted to go back and they wanted to revisit all of this colonial America stuff. And, same thing. There's another musical called Six that I took the girls to in San Antonio. And it's about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. And the music's great. The costumes are great. And so now they can tell you all the wives' names. They can tell you like fun facts about them. They can tell you, who gave him a son that was an heir, like why it was a big deal that, he really wanted to have a son. So they've kind of gone back. So the idea is like give them a really broad overview. And then as they get interested in things, as they see things, as they learn more, they can go back and they can fill in more details because they've already built the framework, right? The scaffolding is there.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm really excited to do with them is kind of repeat that process in a whole lot of ways. So how cool will it be to spend 3 months traveling around and do like a colonial America trip, like go to Williamsburg, go to Philadelphia, like see these places because now they're all like, they're interested in the Constitutional Convention. Like what 9 and 11-year-olds like want to learn about the Constitutional Convention? Like mine do. So now I want to take them to like where the Constitutional Convention actually happened because they'll think that that's really cool because it was in Hamilton, right? So like there are these opportunities that I think you miss out on so much when everything has to come from a classroom and everything has to come from a book, that you don't get to learn that way. And there's a lot of people who really learn well that way. So I think it's going to open up an entire opportunity for them.
Yeah, I think our son is going to thrive in that type of learning environment.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's a wild man. But I'm excited for them to just do things hands-on. Because I think what we've learned in the last 3 years of homeschooling is that like, we really waste a lot of time in the classroom, obviously. And I prefer the things we get to do with our kids. I think the tactile lessons they get from like traveling around and doing, seeing, and touching different things that I work with, seeing how like money is actually made, and like the marketplace generates it, and how that works, and trading of services, and like providing value in the marketplace. I just think that there's a tremendous amount of value in that. And what we'll do is we'll see that more and more as we're on the road on different in different capacities. And so I'm just really looking forward to having more quality time, different less distractions. I shouldn't say different, there will be different distractions, I guess. We'll be in a new place all the time. But the other thing I found very cool about it as you researched was that like a, a full-time RVing community if of such for homeschool families and things like that. So our kids will actually have, because a lot of people ask like, well, how will our kids have friends and things like that? And what would be your response to that?
That was my biggest concern.
That was
like,
yes.
How do you get a sense of community?
Yeah.
How do you make friends? How do you do all this stuff? So I thought that the way that you made friends was like you live in a neighborhood, right? And you play with your neighborhood friends. My kids don't see a lot of the neighborhood kids.
Yeah.
They used to. The older ones now are getting their driver's licenses. They're not trying to play with kids that are, around 10. And, sometimes they get to play with their friend across the street, but they've got two friends across the street. They're both very into sports. They've got practices every night. So it's just, there's not that like spontaneous 1980s ride your bike around the neighborhood until the streetlights come on.
Yeah.
There kind of was, I think, when this older group of kids in the neighborhood, when they were a little bit younger, late elementary, early middle school, like when we first moved in, there was a lot of that. And I really liked that about our neighborhood.
But our kids were 8 years younger than them.
Right. So our kids didn't get to participate at the time. And now it doesn't really exist as much.
Yeah.
And I've also noticed that, since they're now homeschooled, they're kind of out of sight, out of mind. So they don't get invited to a lot of the things that they used to get invited to because people don't see them at school every day.
Which just makes sense. It's not anybody's fault or anything like that,
no,
right?
It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
That's what happens. So, we've got our crew that's, homeschool friends and people who have the ability to do stuff, on a Tuesday, middle of the week, middle of the day, because I'm not trying to go do like a trip to the zoo on a Saturday when everybody else goes. Like I'm only going to the zoo on a Tuesday when no one else is there. Because that's why I homeschool. Come on.
Yeah.
So that was honestly my biggest concern. And I've realized that is not like living that kind of lifestyle is not necessarily a given to having a whole bunch of friends. So I've contrasted that with the fact that we have done some RV trips in the past, and I have watched our kids thrive and make friends at every RV park. They've got pen pals that they met at Big Bend that they played with for a week at an RV park. And they still talk about those kids, right? They sent some letters back and forth, and they were barely even writing. It was years ago. So now I think that having those kinds of connections will be very, very easy. And the more that I have kind of dug in, because I am a level 10 fact finder, as you pointed out, there's like a mastermind that you can join. That's all full-time RVing families.
Yeah.
So it's all families that are living this kind of lifestyle, and you get connected with them, and they've got rallies all around the country. So like they just had one for the big Albuquerque Balloon Festival, and they basically like rented out a big portion of it. All the people got to come in their RVs, park there, sit on the top of the RV with the kids, watch the balloon festivals. And a lot of the time it's the same families. So like maybe we just hung out 2 weeks ago in Albuquerque at the balloon festival and we really hit it off. Our kids got along really well. So we're going to make sure that we meet up again at the next rally in North Carolina in the spring or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe we just make plans ourselves. Hey, we're going to go boondock in South Dakota for a while and let the kids touch base. I mean, there are people who, teenagers, their boyfriend is also, a full-time RV family, and the families just meet up and, spend a week to 3 weeks together someplace, and then travel for a little while, do the things that you need to do, go visit family, whatever it might be. And then, you meet up again.
Yeah.
So I think there's just tons of opportunity there to actually make more intentional, to get back to that, more intentional, stronger bonds.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, there's been a lot of eye-opening things as we've done like fact finding on it, but excuse me, everything has been positive in my mind. 100%. There was challenges in the beginning to wrap my head around it, but I mean, that was just simply unpacking like conventional thinking of like why we couldn't do it. And that's not how I really think about things usually. Like I'm like, oh, I want to do that. And then like all the different ways I can do it instead of like why I can't do it. And so this whole plan really appealed to me greatly. Because I mean, now we've said we were going to do it for a year at the beginning, and now I'm like building our list of places we're going to go. And I'm like, we can't possibly do this in a year. Like this is going to take 2 years minimum, maybe 3.
I'm willing to put a time frame on it.
And
I just think we do it till we're sick of it.
So that's where we're at. We're doing it until we're sick of it because we've got places to see, but I've got so many things to do. Like I talked to Trevor Cowley on here the other day, and he was like, oh man, you've got whatever 12 parks in Utah within like an hour and a half of him. And he's like, you're gonna have to come out here and stay for a month or 3. And I was like, oh, see, it's going to take time because we've been to these national parks and we've been to these different areas on our RV trips already. I mean, I think we've done 21 states or something, maybe not that many, 17, something. I don't know what our map looks like these days. We've also got a rule on our RV that if all 6 of us aren't together, it doesn't count as a state.
So we have to sleep in that state in our RV.
Yeah, you have to spend the night in that state with all 6 Smiths, or it doesn't count. We have to go back to that state.
If it's a hotel stay, no sticker on the map. And if we've broken up and 2 kids are somewhere else and 2 kids are with us, don't get the sticker.
Doesn't count either. Yeah. Tough rules. We're rule followers, and some of us are. I
am.
But this is an exciting journey, guys. I just wanted to take a few minutes and bring Kirsten on here, catch up with her, and see what was going on. But this is the next step in what we are going to be doing. And so we will be going full time on the road within the next 6 months maximum. I think it's going to be less, but like I said, I've got some business obligations that I have to tend to. Because I'm doing some stuff with some other people's money, which I have to follow through and make sure that's a raging success before we take off. But everything I manage at this point, all the teams and everything else going on with our real estate, and things have been systemized to the point where it all gets managed through the phone. The Tactical Empire is a virtual coaching group. So all of that is going to continue. I'm not dropping anything I'm doing. We're actually growing. The Tactical Empire is growing very quickly right now. We've added some new services and some new offerings in coaching. But all of it is built around the lifestyle that we're going to be living going forward. So how can I maximize my impact on people while not limiting my freedom of location? So most of you, if you are my client and you're listening to this, you will talk to me on the regular phone and most likely, and not the internet. And so we have, based on traveling we're pretty good at this though, because we've already done this over the last 3 years. We traveled all during COVID in our RV with the whole crew. And that's kind of where we learned a lot of these lessons on how I can operate and run businesses while we're on the road, because at first we had to understand the lessons we had to learn about owning our schedule and having boundaries with regards to that, with when it comes to internet connections and things like that. So we learned a lot of those lessons already previously on how you run a Zoom call on the road and what you do in the middle of fucking nowhere, West Texas, when you've got to be on hosting a Zoom call. So we have taken a lot of those precautions into account. And I think we're ready to optimize this situation. So it's pretty cool. We'll update you guys on what we're doing, but it's going to be a fun journey. We're going to be nomadic for a while and then move back to some ranch in Texas that we're going to buy eventually. So tell me what's your biggest concern about full timing in an RV?
I mean, this isn't specific, but like, what if we hate it?
What if we hate it?
Yeah, that's a big fear. Because I know, I mean, when we've done, easy 4-week trips, like you mentioned.
5, I think, is the longest we've ever been on the road consecutively. 5 weeks out.
But we've done, every summer since COVID hit, we have done, 11 states and I don't know how many thousands of miles over the course of 4 weeks every summer and then come back. And that's been doable, but it's kind of like, you come back home after a trip and it's always good to come back home. But also our RV has been an RV. It's not been our home. So like our mattress has been shitty or it's not been set up so that someone can lead a Zoom call and anybody else can still be in the RV.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the kids' bunks are right here. They're right next to like the foot of our bed. It's just not set up for how you would live. And thinking about that and that kind of experience, it's, you're ready to come home and get back to work and kind of get back into the normal swing of things. Because we've never established a normal swing of things when it's a 4-week trip. Right. So it's that transition of like, how do you not treat this like a perpetual vacation? How do you make it like this is the new lifestyle? How do you continue to work out regularly on the road? How do you continue to eat healthy on the road? How do you continue to, show up for your calls and produce podcasts when you need to, all of this. And I think one thing that I've been working on is, really being selective about the floor plans that we're looking at because we need every space in the RV to kind of do double duty. So for those of you who are familiar with RVs, we're looking at fifth wheels and specifically toy hauler models so that we'll have a front bedroom that is the master bedroom. So we have our own space, which is important. And that during the day can also double as a workspace for Jeff. So he's got, horizontal surface that he can use as a desk, the ability to do podcasts and things like that in there, lead calls, and then a middle section that is, your living room, kitchen area. We have family movie night usually on Saturday nights. And so it was important to me to find a place that actually, can accommodate 6 people sitting around watching a movie, which is hard to get in an RV. And then the back space, usually in a toy hauler, you've got 2 queen size beds on lifts. So my vision back there was to kind of make these king size platforms that will raise and lower. And then you can put 2 twin size beds in each one. So then all 4 kids are back there in that space. They've got a TV, bathroom back there as well. So you've got a second bath. And then during the day, you can raise those beds and that's, play area, homeschool space, whatever. And then patio off the back because the toy haulers have those ramps if you guys have seen those. So that way everything kind of does double duty. And I think that if we can really, it's a game of give and take for sure, because you're never going to find any RV that's going to check all your boxes. But if we can really make sure that, we're getting as much living space, functional living space out of an RV, then I think that we're going to be able to bridge that gap.
What she was talking about earlier, like our kids are just on us all the time and there's not really separation. So when we talked about doing this and you're like, you look at the square footage of these things, it's 350 square feet, 400 square feet, 6 people and a 100-pound dog in 400 square feet. Most people are like, fuck off.
When you say it like that, I'm kind of like, fuck off.
Well, but this is why we do everything that we do. This is why we built everything we built. Like we want to do whatever. This sounds a lot like a lot of freedom. There's a lot of the country that I haven't seen still. There's a lot of the country that you haven't seen. I know the kids haven't seen a bunch and we want to go to a lot of different areas. We want to experience everything. Because I think I'm not saying this is the last time. That kind of sounds weird, but we are looking for an actual like ranch, like acreage, like hundreds and hundreds of acres, and I am not dead set on the areas we've been looking at already. And so I'm using this as an opportunity to kind of like look at different areas in the country, identify land that may be suitable for us, along with the experiences that we're doing.
Yeah.
But it also gives us a ton of freedom, and it gives our kids like the power of understanding that literally anything is possible. Like you don't have to be boxed into these conventional norms, which is what I coach adults on. And like our kids are going to witness us living it, because like they're already picking where they want to go for their birthday presents and like their birthdays, if you will, and where we're going to spend time on their birthdays. And like our 9-year-old wants to go to Pigeon Forge for of all places. We've never been to Pigeon Forge. She's such an old soul. I love her so much. 1,000 years ago, she was a whole this amazing old soul already.
Yep. If you need us in July, we'll be at Dollywood and Pigeon Forge apparently. But like I think that you hit the nail on the head about freedom, because there has been a whole lot of work that has gone into this to even make this possible. Like mindset stuff, financial stuff, business stuff, because we weren't in a position not even that long ago to be able to do all this stuff on the road and to be in charge of our schedules. But I think, for me, true freedom is like financial freedom, but it's also freedom of time, freedom of location. And, granted, I say, my biggest fear is like, what if we hate it? But also, I'm a really big fan of like when something is kind of scary, I like to do it, like within reason. Like
that's why she married me.
Exactly, because it's scary. I'm not jumping out of a plane or anything, but like I do like to do stuff that makes me feel like, ugh, like is this smart? Like, what if I hate it? What if this happens? Because honestly, like now I want to know. I want to do it to find out, like, will we hate it or will we love it? Because you don't know what could be out there if you don't do it, right?
Right. But to your point, like you really have to understand, like, I think at our core, we understand who we are and what we value, because like most people around you, if you suggest this idea, anybody listening suggest this idea to their family or friends, they're going to be like, you're fucking crazy. And so like to your parents' credit, they haven't really shit on our idea, if you will. They've kind of
they
just
are like, you guys are crazy, but
they just
tell me
stayed,
more.
but they've just watched us for 20 years and they're just like, you're going to do it anyway. So whatever. But nobody else's opinion matters. And I think that's what's so refreshing to me about it. I mean, I know that's how I operate, period. But like, what I notice is like operating in a manner where you don't listen to other people's opinions about what you're doing and you just stay the course of what you choose to do over time. Those naysayers just completely go away because they just save their breath. The only people talking shit or saying anything or like you're stupid, just they're too new to the game to understand I'm going to do whatever I want to do anyway. And so like your family and friends that are still around you that are like real ones that are sticking with you, that they're just going to save their comments over time because they're like, well, that's what they're going to do anyway. So it doesn't matter. So we might as well just see how we can integrate into it, which is what your parents are doing. They're looking at RVs. I know. So they're like, well, if
we'll meet you sometimes.
Can't beat them, you might as well join them. And so I don't think it's as crazy as people think. To your point about how we got here, though, I think we were following conventional methodology. We were moving into bigger and bigger houses. We were buying more and more things. I was building businesses on businesses on businesses, but like wasn't really focused on necessarily the level of freedom I could get out of them.
Yeah.
And so when I changed that conventional thought process, I mean, if you go back to when I was in the corporate world to where I'm at now, like it's complete 180. I've completely turned it on its head, but we we really stepped up and did everything that your parents would tell you to do. We bought all the houses and took all the jobs and came into the neighborhood that you want to live in and do all that shit, and kind of realized that maybe that wasn't for us. Like the conventional way of, I mean, we live in a golf cart community or whatever the hell you want to call it now. And so, like it just didn't really check the boxes on how we wanted to raise our kids and what we wanted to do with them. And so we just kind of pivoted and decided we wanted to go in a different direction. And I think everybody should analyze that periodically. I think one of the best things that's come out of annual planning is the ability for you and I to go really deep on conversations and ask each other like why we're doing things,
Yeah.
and like what's in our lives, and like why is it there, and is the season still the season that we're in.
I mean, full circle, when we did annual planning last year, and I felt like I was kind of half-assing all of these things at once, I had to get really, really honest with myself, which was hard to do because I came from a background where I was always a high achiever.
Mhm.
So when I set my mind to something, I did it. And I didn't just do it, but like I did it well, and I got positive feedback for it. It was like, if I'm going to go to grad school, well, I'm going to get a full ride plus a stipend to do my PhD. And like, I'm not just going to halfway do something.
Yep.
So that was kind of an adjustment for me, like becoming a mom, becoming more of like a support role. Like I didn't get any of the accolades when it was like the Jeff Smith show, because you were running things, like you were the producer, and it was hard for me to not be in that role. And I had to get really honest that I started kind of running around with a group where the idea was like hustle, build, make more money. And I did all that.
Mm.
Right. And even like within the Apex ecosystem, the idea was, you're going to increase your revenue. Okay. Did it. You're going to build your machine. Okay. Did it. You're going to write a book. Okay. Did it. You're going to become an Apex executive coach. Okay. I did it. I did all the things. And then once I kind of reached the end of that, I had to ask myself why I was doing it. And honestly, the reason I was doing it was because I thought that's what everybody was supposed to do. And I was right? Like, do I want to stay here and continue to do this and continue to build? Or am I kind of missing the forest for the trees because I'm looking in a different direction?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of, I feel like, pull things back with a new sense of confidence, because I needed to go back. I needed to prove to myself what I was capable of in order to confidently pull back and be like, no, like we're going to go like trad wife revival 2023. And, I'm going to churn butter and homeschool my kids.
Oh my God. Okay.
I didn't actually churn butter. And not feel like that was in any way less than.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You're using some really trendy terms. So less than. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a huge revelation. I think that one of the reasons that annual planning is so important with your spouse, though, is because of that. Like, and having the ability to kind of not consider things. It's just judgment free. Like, this is what we did over the last year. This is the direction I've been going on. And is it serving us or is it not? And like, if not, then how does it change? Like, one of the big things of my personality, I think, like, I don't look backwards for anything. Like, right now is right now. And like, we're moving forward in everything, because I think that the retrospective, while it's good to learn those lessons and not forget them, is a waste of time. and you have a very minimal amount of time on this planet. Like or beating yourself up on how you parented last year is a waste of today.
It's
And
not
like,
productive.
right, exactly. And so I think we're good at as a couple at doing that with regards to our goals and where we want to be and what we want to do. Like, hey, it's water under the bridge. I mean, uh, I made some money making uh, faux pas last year,
Indeed.
as we know, and I lost some fucking big money on some different endeavors, and that shit happens, man. Like you take some L's, and so it's the same type of thing though. Like your parenting, you get empathy and mulligans in that space too. But the best thing you can do is just put it behind you and move on.
Yeah.
And and so you could get hung up over the situation that we stepped through these processes and bought the house and done all that stuff. But like, again, that fits into the same category. That would be a waste of time.
For sure.
Like coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like we could have been doing this for 5 years. Great. Like our youngest is 4. She's a terror. Like if we would have been RVing with, I think now is the perfect time to do it because she's actually old enough now that it's going to be more fun and experiential for her. Whereas before she would have missed everything. Right. So, that said, I'm stoked. I'm excited to get on the road. I'm excited to wrap some of this stuff up and head out. And where are we going first?
We don't know. It
Ah.
depends on when we get out of here.
Yeah, we don't want to be cold, so we're not driving north
No.
in January. That's for sure. So
I mean, if it's like February, March, we're not going anywhere where there's snow. Usually, ever.
Florida, you'll see us soon. You are wrong, and you will only produce 25% of the results you otherwise would. So fucking do it. Schedule the time, get transparent, dig into, first of all, retroactively look at where you've come because you've had a big year, guaranteed. We have a tendency to overlook all the natural things that we do on a regular basis, but you've come a long way since January, I guarantee. And then deliberately and intentionally plan what you're doing next year, and be intentional about it. Follow through, and you can move your life forward exponentially. Have a wonderful week. Keep kicking ass. We love you from the Tactical Empire.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, Kirsten Smith. It's a pleasure, as always. We'll invite you again sometime.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. We'll see you on the next episode of the Tactical Empire.